Now that the new Superman is dominating the box office and David Corenswet's version of the character is all the rage, it has me thinking about how much I miss Henry Cavill in the role and Zack Snyder's 2013 film Man of Steel. So I think it's time to look back and decide between James Gunn's new, campier Superman and Zack Snyder's dark, gritty Man of Steel, which movie is better? Now, to decide this, I've decided to break it down into 5 categories that define a Superman movie, all of which will award the winner a single point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the video will be declared objectively the better movie, in my opinion. First is simple, and it's the story. Which movie do I find more entertaining? Which story feels more captivating? Which am I more drawn in by? Starting off with the newcomer, Superman, I love this story. I think that basing the film around Lex Luthor is a no-brainer for a kickoff movie to a franchise. Even though I do enjoy Zod, there just is no replicating the dynamic between the brawn of Superman and the brain of Lex. I also appreciate how many different things this movie tries to tackle, even though it does end up feeling a bit overstuffed with too many storylines. Now for Man of Steel, I also really enjoy the story, but for me, it's an issue of pacing. Watching a world that isn't ready for Superman yet, and being able to feel the realness of it and knowing that he's coming soon is pretty interesting. However, that sums up about the first hour of the movie, which is too much. The second half is much better, and it all leads up to a third act that is one of the most entertaining in the superhero genre. Where Superman takes a lot of different ideas and dedicates a little bit of time to each, Man of Steel takes only a few storylines and is able to flesh them out and build upon them. However, I can't get over the fundamentals of the new film, how well-paced and gracefully told its story is, no matter how ambitious it is. I felt more entertained for the entire runtime as opposed to just the final hour, and that means that the story category goes to Superman. Next up are the characters, primarily the side ones surrounding Superman since he has his own category. For the new film, you have more side characters than I can ever remember seeing in a movie. There are like 5 or 6 Daily Planet characters, the Justice Gang, Lex Luthor's girlfriend and his henchmen that work for him, Ultraman, the Engineer, all of the US government officials like Rick Flag, you have Ma and Pa Kent, you have Metamorpho, you have Krypto the dog, you have the Brevia government officials, you have the Falafel guy. I mean, it's insane. But they are all great. Like, I love the scenes with Ma and Pa Kent. Them talking to Clark on the phone is by far the funniest part of the movie. The Justice Gang, but especially Mr. Terrific, are, well, terrific. And obviously, they're your phenomenal Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. Starting with Lois, Rachel Brosnahan just feels right in this role. She has so much chemistry with David Corenswet, and in a weird way, Nicholas Hoult as Lex has chemistry too with Superman, and it just makes you hate him so much it's insane. On the Man of Steel side, there aren't nearly as many characters, but the ones we do get, I still enjoy. I like Lawrence Fishburne as Perry, and I still think that General Zod is one of Michael Shannon's best performances of his career. I will say, though, the thing that really swung this category for me was Amy Adams as Lois Lane, and not in a good way. She's fine in the movie, and I don't really have any thoughts on her performance, but her chemistry with Henry Cavill is completely non-existent. There isn't the same loving relationship and screen presence together that Corenswet and Brosnahan have, and for that reason, the characters category goes to Superman. This is probably the category with the biggest difference, and therefore it's very opinion-based, more so than the others. Superman is obviously very bright, popping, and colorful. It looks exactly like you're flipping through the latest issue of a Superman comic book. Superman cracks jokes, walks around interacting with children, saving puppies, and is generally just a very light-hearted guy. David Corenswet flies around with a smile on his face, wears trunks. I mean, it's such a stark difference from Man of Steel, where the colors are very muted but still crisp, everything looks a little darker, and the whole tone of the movie is much darker. Zod's mission of creating a new genetically pure society is a lot more, I don't know, insane than Lex wanting to make money from war and become king of half a country. I feel like with Superman, it's probably more enjoyable and just, I guess, entertaining, but the darker tone of Man of Steel is much easier to become deeply invested in. And just like how one thing swung last category in Superman's favor, one thing will decide this one for Man of Steel, and that is the terrifying and borderline disturbing scene of Zod's arrival and message to Earth. I mean, genuinely, not many horror movies can make me feel unsettled like this, and especially no superhero movies. Those visceral feelings affect me more, and I find them more memorable, so because of its darkness and grittiness, the tone category goes to Man of Steel. This was easily the hardest category to decide. In Superman, I feel like James Gunn no doubt is better at filming the action than Zack Snyder. He opts for wider shots that really show you what you're looking at, especially that huge fight with the Beast around the halfway point. If that were Zack Snyder, he probably would have had some rapid, shaky cam tight shot on Superman as he soars around the monster. I can just visualize how different they are. But I love both of those styles in their own way. I think Superman flying in the new movie has such a smooth, gliding look, while Man of Steel feels more rugged, like he's actually going hundreds of miles an hour through the air. And also, the laser vision in Superman is so casual and almost nonchalant, but in Man of Steel, it looks like there's an actual strain and difficulty behind it. They're so different, and it makes it so hard to decide, but I just love the third act of Man of Steel, where him and Zod are just crashing through buildings and destroying Metropolis, which is so stupid, but it's so freaking cool to watch. And also, Hans Zimmer's score in the background is always an added plus. I enjoy it more than the final action sequence with Ultraman and really all the other action in the new movie, so I'd just give a slight nod to Man of Steel for action. It is now tied up 2-2, which means that this round decides the winner. And what better way to decide which film is better than by comparing the iconic character that is literally the title of both movies. David Corenswet is just great. There is no denying that. He understands this version of the character, this light-hearted guy that just wants to do good, and he plays it to perfection. His chemistry with Lois is not just on her part, it's from him too. And him nailing both Clark and Superman, the secret identity and the superhero, is something that so few comic book actors rarely do. On the other hand, Henry Cavill, and I truly mean this, was born to play the role of Superman. He just has that Man of Steel persona and gravitas on screen. He dominates every scene he's in, and he brings a nuance and arc to the character that James Gunn's Superman just doesn't exactly have. I think years down the line, once we get to see David Corenswet multiple more times, then my opinion will almost surely change, given that they're already so close after just one movie. But all in all, I feel like Henry Cavill just does more with the character, and he's also given more than Corenswet, character-wise. It's a tough decision, but for right now, I have to lean Henry Cavill, giving Man of Steel the magical third point, which means that it is officially the objectively better movie, in my opinion. And a big emphasis on that last word, opinion. I know this is just my opinion, and I would love to hear yours. If this race was so close in my mind, I'm sure you have an opinion. Do you prefer Superman? Do you prefer Man of Steel? Does one suck? Do both suck? Are both great? I really do want to hear it down below. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and God bless.